Ladies and gentlemen, there is something profoundly unsettling, almost threatening, about a woman who thrives in solitude. Why? Because she does not seek permission to exist. She does not require external validation to feel whole. She does not need constant reassurance to define her worth. And that, precisely, is what makes her incredibly powerful. A woman who spends time alone learns to command her own mind, to sharpen her focus, and to become utterly self-reliant. She is not easily swayed, not easily deceived, and certainly not easily controlled. But why does this make her dangerous? Because she becomes immune to manipulation. She sees through illusions, through false promises, through empty words. She has sat in silence long enough to confront every fear, every insecurity, every weakness, and overcome them all. She does not stay in places where she is not valued. She does not entertain relationships that drain her. And when she walks away, she does so with the kind of confidence that leaves others questioning their own existence. A woman who embraces solitude develops a strength that is both rare and deeply misunderstood. In a world that constantly demands connection, validation, and external affirmation, choosing solitude is an act of defiance. It is a declaration of independence, a refusal to be consumed by the noise of the world. And with that choice comes an incredible transformation. She begins to see herself clearly, not through the lens of social expectations, not through the opinions of others, but through the raw and unfiltered experience of being alone with her own mind. That is a terrifying thing for most people. They avoid silence, they drown themselves in distractions, because they fear what they might find if they were to truly be alone with their thoughts. But she does not run. She faces herself. And in doing so, she discovers something powerful: self-sufficiency. There is something profoundly different about a person who does not need to be entertained, reassured, or constantly surrounded by others. A woman who spends time alone learns to cultivate her own sense of purpose, her own identity, her own values. She does not derive her worth from how many people approve of her or how much attention she receives. She knows who she is, and that makes her immovable. That is precisely why she becomes a force to be reckoned with, because when you remove the need for external validation, you become immune to manipulation. You are no longer swayed by flattery, by peer pressure, by the fear of being left out. You operate from a position of strength rather than insecurity. And when a woman reaches that level of clarity, she becomes dangerous not in a reckless or destructive way, but in a way that makes her untouchable. Think about what happens when a person is truly independent. They do not stay in places that drain them. They do not tolerate relationships that diminish them. They do not waste time on meaningless pursuits. When a woman has mastered the art of being alone, she no longer clings to people out of loneliness. She does not entertain false affections. She does not settle for anything less than what aligns with her highest values. That alone makes her a rarity, because so many people compromise themselves for the sake of belonging. They stay in relationships that do not fulfill them. They chase approval. They bend themselves into shapes that please others. But she does not. And that makes her presence unsettling to those who are used to controlling, persuading, or molding others to fit their expectations. But this strength does not come easily. It is forged in the quiet, in the discomfort, in the moments of deep self-reflection that most people avoid. When a woman spends time alone, she confronts herself in ways that are unavoidable. She sees her fears, her insecurities, her weaknesses, and she works through them. She does not mask them with constant socializing or distractions. She does not numb herself with validation. She faces the hard truths, and in doing so, she grows in a way that few ever do. She becomes whole within herself, and that is what makes her powerful, because the moment you become whole on your own, you are free. Freedom is the most dangerous thing to those who wish to control others. And a woman who is comfortable in solitude is free. in a way that most people never are. She moves with purpose, not out of desperation. She chooses relationships based on alignment, not fear. She does not seek to be completed by anyone because she is already complete within herself. And that is what makes her presence so compelling. People are drawn to her not because she needs them, but because she radiates something they lack: self-sufficiency, confidence, an unshakable inner world. But the irony is this: the more comfortable she becomes alone, the more people want to be around her. The less she needs approval, the more respect she commands. Because people sense it. They recognize, even if subconsciously, that they are in the presence of someone who does not require their validation to exist, and that is unsettling for those who depend on external affirmation. Because when faced with a person who is whole within themselves, they are forced to confront their own lack of self-sufficiency. That is why a woman who thrives in solitude is seen as dangerous, because she reveals to others their own insecurities, their own dependencies, their own weaknesses. This is the paradox of solitude. It does not make a person isolated, it makes them magnetic. It does not make them lonely, it makes them whole. And the world does not know what to do with a person who does not need it. That is why those who master solitude are often the ones who influence, lead, and shape the world around them. Because they are not bound by the fears and limitations that hold others back. They operate from a position of internal power, and that is the kind of strength that cannot be taken away. A woman who spends time alone possesses a quality that makes people uneasy: a depth of character that has been forged in silence rather than through external validation. Solitude is a test, a crucible in which the individual either crumbles under the weight of their own thoughts or emerges with a clarity that few will ever understand. This is what makes her dangerous. She does not seek distractions, does not need the constant noise of companionship to feel secure, and does not depend on the approval of others to validate her existence. That kind of independence unsettles people, not because it is wrong, but because it is rare. It highlights the insecurities of those who have never taken the time to be alone with themselves. A person who is comfortable in their solitude becomes immune to the cheap currency of social games. They are not swayed by flattery, nor are they manipulated by the fear of rejection. This is particularly unsettling in a world where so many thrive on attention and external affirmation. If someone cannot be controlled through social pressure, if they cannot be coerced into fitting a mold just to belong, they become an anomaly. They move with purpose rather than desperation, making choices based on what aligns with their values rather than on what will gain them temporary acceptance. That is power, the kind of power that is not given by others and therefore cannot be taken away. But this strength does not come easily. To be alone is to confront oneself fully, without distraction, without escape. It is to sit in the depths of one's mind and face the questions most people avoid. Who am I when no one is watching? What do I truly believe? What do I actually want? These are uncomfortable questions because they strip away all the facades people use to shield themselves from reality. Most will do anything to avoid this process. They will drown themselves in social media, in parties, in relationships that do not fulfill them, just to avoid sitting in the silence of their own thoughts. But the woman who embraces solitude does not run. She stays, she listens, and in doing so, she begins to understand herself in a way that others do not. When a woman reaches this level of self-awareness, she develops an ability to see through deception, to recognize the insincerities that many take at face value. She does not fall for empty words, does not tolerate half-hearted commitments, does not settle for surface-level interactions. She values depth, and that alone sets her apart. The ability to discern between what is real and what is merely an illusion of significance makes her unpredictable in a world where most people are easily influenced. This is not just intelligence, it is wisdom, earned through time spent in self-reflection rather than in the pursuit of external validation. and wisdom is dangerous to those who thrive in ignorance. There is another element to this that cannot be ignored. A woman who enjoys her own company does not seek relationships out of need. She is not desperate for companionship, nor does she fear being alone. This changes the entire dynamic of her interactions. When a person does not need something from others, they cannot be easily manipulated or controlled. They set their own terms, define their own boundaries, and refuse to accept anything less than what aligns with their core values. This kind of presence is unsettling to those who are used to people bending to fit their expectations, because she does not bend, she does not chase, she chooses. That choice is everything. When a woman selects people based on mutual respect rather than dependency, she surrounds herself with individuals who genuinely align with her values rather than those who are merely convenient. This makes her relationships stronger, more authentic, and free from the common insecurities that plague those who fear solitude. She is not in relationships to fill a void. She is in them because they add to an already full life. That shift in mindset changes everything. It places her in a position of strength rather than submission, and that is what makes her truly formidable. The irony is that while she is feared for her independence, she is also deeply admired for it. People are drawn to those who do not beg for their attention, to those who are whole within themselves. It is a paradox. Those who need the least often receive the most, because authenticity is magnetic. A woman who knows herself, who walks with certainty, who does not shrink herself to fit into societal expectations, that is a woman who commands respect without demanding it. And that is precisely why she is dangerous. She does not conform. She does not follow. She leads, whether she intends to or not, simply by existing in a way that defies convention. The world does not always know what to do with a woman like that. She is labeled as intimidating, unapproachable, or even cold. But these are merely words used by those who cannot comprehend the strength it takes to be self-sufficient. The truth is, she is not cold, she is selective. She is not unapproachable, she simply does not entertain what does not align with her. She is not intimidating, she simply refuses to diminish herself to make others comfortable. And that is what makes her presence so powerful, because once a person has found true independence, they become unstoppable. A woman who spends time alone cultivates an aura of mystery, but more importantly, she develops a sense of self that is deeply rooted in independence. This is not just a personal choice. It is a transformation that fundamentally alters how she interacts with the world. The ability to be alone without fear, without the need for constant distraction, is a rare and formidable trait. It suggests a depth of thought, an introspective nature, and a resilience that many people lack. The world moves fast, constantly demanding attention, validation, and conformity. But she does not submit to these demands. She chooses solitude not as an escape, but as a means of refinement, a way to sharpen her mind, strengthen her values, and define her path without external influence. When a person is alone, they have no one to blame for their shortcomings, no one to distract them from their flaws, no one to validate their illusions. They must face themselves entirely. And that is why solitude is feared by so many. It forces a confrontation with truth, with reality, with the raw, unfiltered version of the self that is often hidden beneath social masks. But for those who embrace it, it is an opportunity to grow, to refine their character, to strip away the unnecessary and focus on what truly matters. This process is painful, uncomfortable, and often isolating, but it is also necessary. It is how strength is built not through the noise of the world, but through the silence of introspection. A woman who has spent time alone, who has learned to navigate the complexities of her own mind, emerges with an understanding of herself that is unshakable. She knows her values, her boundaries, her purpose. She does not need external validation to feel complete. This kind of self-assurance is rare, and it is unsettling to those who rely on the opinions of others to define their worth. In a society that often encourages dependence on relationships, on social media, on fleeting distractions, her ability to stand alone makes her unpredictable. She cannot be easily manipulated or coerced. She does not fear rejection because she does not seek approval as a form of self-worth. This makes her powerful in a way that few understand. Power, in this context, is not about control over others. It is about control over oneself. It is the ability to walk away from what does not serve her, to refuse what does not align with her values, to set standards and uphold them without compromise. Many people lack this ability. They stay in situations that diminish them, accept relationships that drain them, tolerate behaviors that disrespect them all because they fear being alone. But when a person no longer fears solitude, they become immune to the kind of desperation that leads to poor choices. They operate from a place of strength, not need. And that strength extends beyond personal choices. It influences how others perceive them. Confidence that is born from solitude is different from confidence that is performed for social approval. It is not loud or boastful. It does not seek attention. It simply exists quietly, undeniably. And that quiet strength commands respect. People are drawn to those who do not chase, to those who do not beg for attention, to those who are content within themselves. It is a paradox. The less one needs validation, the more they naturally receive it, because authenticity is magnetic. This is why a woman who is comfortable in her own company is both admired and feared. She does not follow trends, does not conform for the sake of acceptance, does not shrink herself to fit expectations. She moves with purpose, speaks with conviction, and makes decisions based on what aligns with her deepest values rather than what pleases others. This disrupts the social dynamic because she is not easily influenced. She does not tolerate mediocrity, does not entertain manipulation, does not settle for less than what she knows she deserves. This kind of certainty is unsettling to those who operate in insecurity. It highlights the lack of self-awareness in those who have never spent time understanding themselves. There is another layer to this. A woman who enjoys solitude does not enter relationships out of need, but out of choice. She does not seek companionship to fill a void. She seeks it to enhance an already full life. This changes everything. It means she does not tolerate disrespect, does not cling to what is unhealthy, does not lose herself in the pursuit of love. She loves with depth, but not at the expense of her individuality. She gives, but not beyond the point of self-sacrifice. And this creates a dynamic that is rare, because she is in relationships not to complete herself, but to share her completeness with someone who is equally whole. The world often misinterprets independence as coldness, strength as arrogance, self-sufficiency as detachment. But these are projections from those who have not experienced true solitude. The truth is, a woman who spends time alone is not isolated, she is refined. She does not reject connection, she simply values quality over quantity. She is not detached, she is discerning. And that discernment is what makes her presence powerful. She chooses her words carefully, her actions deliberately, her relationships intentionally. She is not swayed by superficial charm, not deceived by empty promises, not controlled by fear of abandonment. This is what makes her dangerous, not in a destructive sense, but in a way that challenges the norms. She does not conform, and that makes people uncomfortable. She does not depend on external approval, and that makes her unpredictable. She does not settle, and that makes her formidable. She is dangerous not because she intends harm, but because she refuses to be anything other than who she truly is. And in a world that constantly tries to mold people into something they are not, that is the most dangerous thing of all. Solitude is not merely a state of being alone. It is a confrontation with the deepest, most unfiltered aspects of the self. It strips away the noise of the world, the expectations of others, the illusions we construct to make our lives more palatable. And for a woman who willingly embraces solitude, this confrontation is not something to be feared, but something to be mastered. She is not avoiding connection, nor is she rejecting companionship. Rather, she is refining her inner world, sharpening her intellect, fortifying her emotional strength. She is learning to be whole within herself, and that is something very few people ever truly achieve. There is a reason why people fill their lives with distraction, social media, endless conversations, superficial relationships, because facing oneself without any of these external buffers is profoundly difficult. It demands a level of honesty that many are not prepared for. It means acknowledging one's weaknesses, one's past mistakes, one's vulnerabilities. But in doing so, it also forces growth. And that is what makes a woman who spends time alone dangerous, because she has confronted these aspects of herself, processed them, and emerged with an unshakable sense of self-awareness. She does not need others to define her, to validate her existence, or to provide her with a sense of purpose. This kind of woman is rare, and what is rare is valuable. She has built a fortress within her mind, one that cannot be easily breached by manipulation or deceit. She does not fall for empty words, for grand but meaningless gestures, for shallow attempts at control. She sees through these things with a clarity that unsettles those who are used to influencing others with charm alone. She is not easily impressed because she is already impressed herself. She does not tolerate mediocrity because she has raised her own standards to a level where anything less feels intolerable. And when a person holds themselves to such a standard, they inevitably demand the same from those around them. This is what makes her presence so powerful. She does not engage in relationships that drain her, does not entertain conversations that lack depth, does not invest her time in situations that do not align with her principles. She operates from a position of strength, not need. This means she is capable of walking away from anything that does not serve her, without hesitation, without regret. She does not fear loss because she has already learned how to be whole on her own. The modern world does not teach people to be alone. It conditions them to seek constant engagement, to fear silence, to believe that solitude is synonymous with loneliness. But that is a lie. Solitude is not an absence, it is a presence. It is a presence of thought, of self-reflection, of deep understanding. It is the space where true wisdom is cultivated. And a woman who has mastered solitude is not weak, nor is she in need of saving. She is strong in a way that unsettles those who have never dared to sit alone with their own thoughts. When she does choose to engage with others, she does so from a position of choice, not desperation. She is not searching for someone to complete her, but for someone who is equally whole. She values depth over convenience, meaning over momentary pleasure, authenticity over social expectation. She is not afraid to be alone because she has built a world within herself that is rich, meaningful, and fulfilling. And that is why she is dangerous, because she is not governed by fear, by longing, or by the need for approval. She is governed by her own principles, by her own sense of purpose, by her own unwavering standards. And that makes her unstoppable. A woman who spends time alone is not just comfortable with solitude, she thrives in it. And that makes her profoundly dangerous in a world that depends on people seeking constant validation, approval, and distraction. She does not need noise to fill the silence, nor does she require external confirmation of her worth. She has faced herself, fully the good, the bad, and the painful, and has emerged stronger, more resilient, more independent than ever before. That level of self-sufficiency is unsettling to those who have not done the same. Most people spend their lives running from themselves. They move from one relationship to another, from one group of friends to the next, from one social event to the following distraction, because being alone forces them to confront truths they would rather ignore. But a woman who chooses solitude does not run from herself. She walks directly into the depths of her own mind, exploring its contours, understanding its complexities, strengthening her sense of self. She builds her inner world so completely that she becomes unshakable. And when a person becomes unshakable, they cannot be controlled. They do not react impulsively to the opinions of others, nor do they seek approval for their choices. They act out of conviction, not insecurity. They engage with others not out of necessity, but out of genuine interest and alignment. This makes such a woman incredibly difficult to manipulate because she does not crave attention, nor does she fear rejection. She knows that being alone is not a failure, it is a sign of self-mastery. This is what makes her so powerful in relationships. She does not engage in meaningless drama, does not lower her standards to accommodate mediocrity, does not bend her principles for the sake of temporary validation. She demands the same level of depth, strength, and integrity that she has cultivated within herself. And when she does not find it, she walks away without hesitation. She does not cling to people who do not align with her values because she is not afraid of solitude. It is her foundation. Many fear this kind of woman because she cannot be easily influenced, nor does she conform for the sake of acceptance. She operates on a different level, one where depth matters more than appearances, where wisdom outweighs popularity, where purpose drives decisions rather than fleeting emotions. She has learned to be selective with her energy, to protect her peace, to engage only in relationships that contribute to her growth rather than deplete her spirit. And this is what ultimately sets her apart. She does not seek to be liked, she seeks to be understood by those capable of understanding her. She does not settle for shallow connections. She cultivates relationships built on mutual respect and shared principles. She does not allow fear to dictate her choices because she has already conquered the greatest fear of all, the fear of facing herself. In a world that teaches people to fear being alone, she has transformed solitude into a source of power. While others fill their time with distractions, she refines her thoughts. While others seek approval, she strengthens her own sense of worth. While others chase fleeting pleasures, she builds a foundation that is lasting, unshakable, and deeply rooted in authenticity. That is what makes her dangerous, not in a harmful way, but in a way that demands recognition, respect, and reverence. Because true strength is not found in dependence, it is found in the ability to stand alone and still remain whole. A woman who spends time alone is not fragile, is formidable. She is not isolated out of necessity, but by choice, because she understands that solitude is not loneliness. It is a crucible for strength. In solitude, a person meets themselves fully, without distraction, without the expectations of others shaping their identity. And that is why she becomes dangerous in the best possible way, because she has built herself in the absence of external validation. She does not require it, she does not chase it, and she does not bend to the will of those who try to control her through it. She has learned that the world often rewards conformity, that people are more comfortable when others fit within predictable roles, when they are agreeable, accommodating, dependent on the approval of the collective. But she has chosen a different path. She has carved out space for her own thoughts, her own reflections, her own understanding of what matters. And because of that, she sees things more clearly than most. She is not easily swayed by trends, nor does she succumb to emotional manipulation. She has developed a sharp mind, an unwavering sense of self, and a resilience that makes her impervious to the petty games so many people play. She has also cultivated patience. Most people are reactive, impulsive, quick to speak, quick to judge. But she has learned the power of silence, of observation, of calculated response. When she does speak, it is with intention. When she does act, it is with purpose. This makes her presence powerful because she does not waste words, nor does she waste energy on things that do not serve her higher purpose. Her strength does not come from arrogance or a sense of superiority, it comes from discipline. She has disciplined her mind to withstand loneliness without crumbling, to embrace uncertainty without panic, to carry herself with dignity even when no one is watching. That kind of inner strength is unsettling to those who have never developed it themselves. It forces them to confront their own weaknesses, their own insecurities, their own dependence on the opinions of others. And that is why people either admire her deeply or fear her intensely, because she is a mirror reflecting back what others are too afraid to see in themselves. And so she moves through the world differently. She does not beg for attention. She does not tolerate mediocrity. She does not lower her standards for the sake of temporary companionship. She understands the value of solitude, and because of that, she chooses the people in her life carefully. She does not stay in relationships that drain her, does not engage in conversations that lack substance, does not entertain dynamics that do not align with her values. She is alone when necessary, but never lonely, because she has cultivated a world within herself that is rich, meaningful, and deeply fulfilling. That is what makes her so rare. Not that she is difficult to understand, but that she refuses to be anything other than what she is. She has mastered herself, and in doing so, she has become the kind of person who cannot be ignored. A woman who spends time alone is not weak, she is powerful beyond measure. She has forged her strength in solitude, built her identity without external validation, and developed a mind that is sharp, independent, and unwavering. She does not settle for mediocrity, nor does she allow others to define her worth. Her presence commands respect, her patience grants her wisdom, and her discipline makes her unstoppable. She is not alone out of necessity, but by choice. And that choice makes her truly dangerous, because she cannot be controlled, manipulated, or broken.